Hello keys players, welcome to our top 5 roles of the keys player at KXC. This is the first video on transitions and maintaining the transition when we're staying in the same key. The scenario we're going to use is King of My Heart in C major. It sounds like this and it will start with a down chorus. You are good, you're good, oh. Now, the first thing I want to say is, and most basic, is at the end of a song, don't stop playing. It would sound a bit like this. 2, 3. You are good, you're good. This is the last time. Oh. Why do we not want to stop? There's a few reasons, but we want to create a safe backing at all times for the worship leader. If we stop playing, then not only do the congregation think, oh, what's happening next? And they might be a bit distracted, but also it backs the worship leader into a corner. It means that they have to then make a decision. It's like a confrontation moment for them. However, if we keep playing, then there's a musical backing. They can just keep soaking, listening to what the Spirit might be saying, and they've got a bit more time to choose what to do next, whether that be go back into the song, sing a spontaneous song over those same chords, or decide that it might be time to move on, and then they can communicate that. So this is what carrying on playing at the end of that might sound like. 2, 3. You are good, you're good. This is the last time. Oh. Or, instead of carrying on with the chorus chords, we could carry on with the bridge chords, like this. 3. You are good, you're good. Here's the last time. Oh. So we're in the bridge chords now, which go like this. You're never gonna let It's important to not play this too sparsely. If we play really sparsely, perhaps holding just the chords but no in-between notes, it sounds like this. You might think that sounds okay, but listen to this without the click. This is what the congregation hears. It sounds a bit like this. And you notice, particularly on this last chord, it's really sparse. There's a big gap. The problem with this is it can make people feel like there's a bit of a lack of confidence in the room. Remember, everything that we play demonstrates or expresses some kind of emotion, and we want to be careful that we're not expressing kind of lack of confidence or something that's unsure, because remember, our job is to make the congregation feel safe and not distract them with the music, but instead allow the music to help people engage with worship. So what can you do instead of this? Well, I would say always include some eighth notes in between the chords. So you could do something like this, which uses just one note at a time in between those chords. Another way that you could do this is you could use block chords a little bit like this. 2, 3, 4. When you're doing block chords, be careful not just to use a triad, otherwise it can sound quite twee and quite simple, a little bit like this. going for a richer sound than this. One way you can do this quite easily is in the right hand, maintain the same chord, and in the left hand, move through the chords. So in this scenario, I'm gonna just play a C major triad like this throughout the chords. And as I go through the 6, 5, 4, 1 sequence, you'll hear the two merge in a really nice way. 2, 3, 4. Perhaps we still want a little bit more movement than that, but you can already tell that that's a bit richer than just the triads. Even worse than just the triads is the triads, but up an octave. It sounds a little bit like this. 3, 4. You might be familiar with that sound. Sometimes you can hear keys players doing that. I hope you'll agree that doesn't sound great. We want to play something a bit richer and certainly a bit lower in the register. Another kind of halfway between the one note and the block chords is playing two notes. So picking out two notes, and this takes a bit of practice. Always practice with a click like we're doing throughout this video, because we need to practice with a click to prepare ourselves, firstly for just great time, and also for Sundays when we're always going to be playing to a click. So we could play two notes at a time and mix those up, and you could practice what different combinations you like with different chords. And this does just take some practice. So go away and have a little go at this, but this is me playing the same sequence with two notes at a time in the right hand. 2, 3, 4. A final word on this, if you're really not sure what to play, the 1 and the 5 is always a good place to start. It would sound a bit like this. The next thing we want to talk about is if we're transitioning from one tempo to another. Remember, this would be in the same key, but perhaps the worship leaders indicated that they're ready to move on to the next song in the set. So we're going to start playing in the tempo for King of My Heart, and then at some point the tempo is going to change. And instead of stop playing, try and keep playing, but adjust gradually, if you need to the new tempo. There's no rush to do this. It's better to keep playing to create the smoothness. Have a listen to this as I do this. In this example, I didn't stop. I maybe held a chord for a little bit and just gradually adjusted, and actually it felt a lot smoother than it would have been if I'd have stopped and then started the new tempo. So if we're in the same key, try and make use of that great fact. The next thing we're going to do is play along with an acoustic guitar. Sometimes the worship leader's got an acoustic guitar or another instrument, and they're leading the time and driving things forward, and you're just backing up. In that case, still don't stop playing, keep going. Don't just leave it to them. However, sometimes a worship leader either doesn't have an instrument, or they do have an instrument, but they've stopped playing. If that happens, you're now leading. And this is what I want keys players to understand. You need to step up into leading the band, leading the time, and keeping things moving in those moments. In this next example, we're going to play along with an acoustic guitar, and then at some point, the acoustic guitar is going to drop out. And at that point, you as the keys player need to take over control. See if you can spot where this happens. going to listen back to that again without the acoustic guitar this time. So just listening to the piano, and I want you to see if you can spot where the piano goes from just backing up the acoustic guitar to suddenly taking the lead.